is Jewish ethics. I did not check and see if everyone turned in their homework yet, but no new homework. Just if you hadn't done the Avos thing, go ahead and do it. So this is a weird mishnah, weird for many reasons. Okay, so we're gonna probably not finish it today, but we're gonna start it today. The skull one, yeah.
Oh, I had a feeling someone would pick that.
Yeah, I had a feeling also, but I've tried to teach it in different years, and like I feel like I get something, and then it doesn't always come together. This year I want to try to like crack it. Okay, crack the skull.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. Off who? No, it's not at all. Yeah. Off who Hillel. Sorry. Off who? Okay. Now I put in brackets Hillel because this is part of a chain of statements from Hillel. Ra gulgolis achas shetsafa al pnei hamayim. So what does that mean?
I never even read the Hebrew.
Yeah, he what? He saw
A gilgal.
not a gilgal. This is gulgolis.
Oh, a skull.
A skull, exactly a skull, right? So the word, the shorish of gimel lamed, it's a 4-letter shorish, does mean circle. So that's where, because it's a skull is round. That's where the word gilgal comes from, because it's like, I'm trying to think if there's another. I don't think there are other. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know.
To be megalgil something means to roll it. Okay.
Oh, like Gilgal mitzvah.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. Something like that.
One mitzvah causes another.
That's goreris. Yeah.
Oh, mitzvah.
Yeah. That's to drag. Okay. Shetsafa al pnei hamayim. It was floating on the water. Okay. Now, just so you can get imagery in your head, maybe not. It's okay. I've seen this translated as skull, but like some of the Mefarshim seem to think that he recognized who it was, which means that unless he's really good at like forensics, then it probably was a head.
Or maybe
Yeah.
Still had some.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's more like, think of it more as a head than a skull. Okay, and in Hebrew we do use the word gugulis for head, for the census, like beka la gugulis, like a coin for each head, head count. Yeah. So this is kind of gruesome imagery here. Okay, and now this part is in Aramaic. Okay, this Amar La is in Hebrew. He said to it, it's like what's it called? Hamlet, right? He said to the skull, Al da'ateft atfuch, because you drowned, and means you drowned other people. Atfuch, you were drowned. The sof, and in the end, mitifayich yitufun. Those who drown you will be drowned. Okay. that was what kind of awe? That wasn't like.
It was like revenge.
Because it sounded like that's cute. Aw.
Yeah,
Aw.
it's like, oh, it's nice that his friend is like, don't worry.
Oh. I think you're getting a different vibe from this than others.
It's like someone drowned him.
Yeah.
So now people who drowned him are gonna drown.
No, but someone drowned him.
That's a new take on that, Leah. That's something. Okay. All right. So what are the questions and problems here? And there are many.
I guess.
Yeah, you can go first because you actually wrote your thing on it, so you'll fill us in on all the questions that everyone else misses.
That sounds like he's like condoning revenge, or he's basically saying that you got down because you drowned others, and then like it's like a cycle, I guess, and it's saying like, oh, then the person who drowned you.
Okay, so does that have to be revenge, or like is it like? Yeah, it sounds like a media thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, he drowned others.
Yeah.
The skull drowned. Oh.
No, okay. Yeah. In other words, like this.
He said to the skull.
He said to the skull.
Oh, that's a.
So why is he talking?
No. Okay. All right. So let me make sure we're all on the same page here, right? So he sees a skull, which used to belong to a person, right? He's saying that guy. He's saying, hey, you skull, you person, you were a murderer. You killed other people, and that's why you were killed. And the people who killed you, they're gonna be killed. Yes, they'll be killed by drowning, right? And by the way, I think this also stands to reason that this is gruesome, but that this is not just a skull; it's a head. So how does he know that this guy got killed by others? It's decapitated, right? In other words, like you don't just you your head doesn't fall off when you drowned. Okay, like that's not a thing that happens. So like I'm picturing here like it's a murder. Like they drown this guy to death, and then probably like, I don't know if they killed him or if like an animal ate the stuff, but yeah. Okay, so gruesome details here. Yeah. All right. So it does sound like a media connected media thing. So let's formulate questions here.
Why is he talking?
Okay, that's a fair question. I mean, it might just be poetic, but why is he talking to a skull? Okay, I think it's a fair question though.
Is it literal?
Is it literal? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Let's say, did this actually happen? Is this literal?
They murdered that person, they'll be murdered.
Okay, that's one of the big problems. Okay, right, which is
Get murdered. Ooh, I like that.
okay, which is like this is why can I not delete anymore? Okay, that's what it feels like. It feels like I locked it, but let me close it and come back again.
Just remember that card?
I must have.
You can't touch it. Is the keyboard the card?
Yeah, the keyboard is not working. I must have hit.
For my birthday?
Now it just started again. Hold on.
You can't touch it.
Let me pause the recording.
It typed it that card.
Yeah,
I would've
pause.
loved
Okay,
that.
so what was the question? Oh, yeah, Emily, you said that does this imply that only people who drown others get drowned or something like that?
No, that
Oh,
like anyone who like kills someone in a certain way gets
Yeah,
killed
that
by
anyone who kills someone in a specific way will meet with that same fate. And what's the problem with that?
How? Like, we don't
How
see
is
that.
that?
Yeah, exactly right. So first of all, like that doesn't seem true.
It doesn't
Okay.
seem just. What
Uh,
about teshuva?
okay, I mean, I that's a question you can ask on all punishment, right? Like, there's going to be a certain time frame in which they could do tshuva, and like if they don't do it,
Yeah, but this one sounds like if you do it, you get punished.
right? But you might be able to do tshuva in between.
Seems like a lack of nature. It seems like it has to involve some sort of intervention
Yeah.
or like a lack of free will because it's just not.
Okay, good. So how does this work?
Is it natural? Is
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna make it.
happen to drown?
How does this work? How is this in
Yeah.
line with free will?
That's what
I-
Is this natural or?
You always hang out by water, so then
Yeah.
you fall into.
See, yeah, right. So is this, the way I formulate it is, how does this work? Is this in line with free will? Is this natural? Is it hashgacha? And it just doesn't seem true, like it doesn't seem like this happens. And you could ask more specific questions also, like one of the Mefarshim said, okay, let's see if you can get this one. In the Torah, in the Chumash, what's the best disproof of this? And something you've learned in Chumash this year.
Oh, what's his name?
Cain.
Yeah. His brother didn't kill him.
Yeah, right?
Well, tell him.
Right? Is it Hevel got murdered, and it wasn't because he murdered anyone, right? So like, clearly you can get.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Oh, yeah?
Anyone who gets murdered, the person who killed him must have been.
No, yeah, you're right.
Well, no, it's like
It's
this.
not saying that whoever got murdered did that thing beforehand.
Well, let's say if Hillel saw it, it does imply that, right? Because how does it imply that?
Oh, it's like a cycle forever.
But
But I don't
after.
think it could.
It says that after.
Well, okay, so your question was Cain didn't get murdered, right?
You were drowned. So yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. Now, if Hillel had seen the skull of Hevel, what would he have said? He would have said, "You got killed because you killed others," and that wouldn't have been true.
You're assuming, and this is a question, that he didn't know, like exactly what happened. Because if he did, and you could just say, then like obviously. Then he didn't know that he-
Yeah, let's add that to the question also, which is like, what did and didn't Hillel know about this skull, right? Like, how much of this is he inferring from the skull, and how much of it is he like, did he know something about this person first beforehand? But you guys were saying though that Cain didn't get murdered, even though he murdered Hevel. Is that what the point you were making? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's also a good question, and this is all part of the question 3 of
I guess this is kind of like a question to is this literal?
Yeah.
If it is literal, what would be the benefit of that? Because you're not, let's say you're already dead, you're not going to know how you were killed.
Yeah. So I guess it seems I'm not gonna list it as a question. I'm gonna just assume, because all the Mepharshim say this, they all say that this has to do with God's justice. So like it's a legitimate question, but it's really a question of like, well, why does reward and punishment exist in general? So we'll take that as the premise for now. Yeah, but I think there is a question you can ask about the benefit that
Oh, like,
Yeah.
point of this even? Like,
what is this doing in Pirkei Avos? Okay, like what does this teach us about like about like the Hasidus, right?
I was actually thinking about drowning someone yesterday.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like
No, I don't want to be drowned.
yeah, the audience of Avos isn't contemplating murder, I hope. Right? Yeah, so it's just a weird thing to be in Pirkei Avos, and it's not stated as an ethical teaching. It's not like a lot of the stuff we read in Pirkei Avos is like you should do this or you should have this, or just like, and it's a story also. It's like something that happened. It's this is not a lot of the stuff in Pirkei Avos is hu haya omer, like so and so used to say, or he would always say this. This sounds like one event, like So it's just like it's just a very weird weird mishnah. Did you have any other questions that you listed on your homework that you remember that we haven't listed yet? I think this pretty much covers it. Yeah. Okay, so what do you? Let's try figuring it out before we look at the Mepharshim here. What do you think?
It really sounds like a mishnah.
It does, yeah. Yeah, you could treat it that way. Yeah, you just figure out what it is. I mean, it's very hard.
Go back to our original.
The mishnah. Yeah.
Are you looking for?
Yeah, or just an approach, an understanding.
I was thinking that it's trying to teach an idea about like how sins lead to other sins.
Hmm. Okay, I think that is a I think that's a good approach.
It's saying like if you're in a society, like I feel like it has something like this, but like your actions have an impact on society,
Yeah,
and by you drowning others, by you harming others, or like even really any action, but specifically I guess harmful action.
yeah,
You are having a negative effect on society, and it's going to reflect back to you. Like now you're making society a place where like it's okay to harm others,
okay,
and then you will get harmed, and because you drown others, you were harmed, and those who drown you, because like everyone's just going to be harmed.
yeah, okay. That's a good shot. And Leah, would you consider that to be a development of what you're saying, or a different idea? Because I think it.
That's about.
Yeah. Okay. So I actually it's reminding me of a very specific scene in a movie that I'd like to show you, which I'm not going to get copy strike this time. Let me pause.
People and harming others and stuff like that. So then on the individual level, you're going to be involved in that, and each individual who's in that society will learn that and be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. All right. So let me pause. Yeah.
And then each of them is sent to kill the person before him who did the job to achieve that goal.
Right. Okay. Good. So if that were a Mishlei pasuk, so what would be the Mishleic insight though? Because that's a good description of the phenomenon, right? What's the Mishleic like idea? And I think this is very similar to like what you were saying.
Once you're not valuing human life,
Yeah.
then and you're like doing anything to get the money, then you'll kill the guy you'll kill your partner so you can get the most.
Right. And then.
No loyalty, and then they'll kill you.
And then yeah, exactly. In other words, once you are operating in that world where you are in where you're going to be willing to harm other people or take advantage of them or kill them or steal from them or whatever, then why are you assuming that that's not going to happen to you from the very same people who you're in the world with? Like if you're in that value system where it's like, I can just take advantage of you for my own benefit. So then someone's going to do the same thing to you. Whereas if you're in a value system that is based on justice, then it's really, not only does that not happen, but it's really the opposite. Is like, I will go out of my way to help you, and other people, and that's going to create a society where people will go out of their way to help me. Yeah.
I was thinking when I said like sin leading to other sin, I wasn't thinking of it as like your sin creates like a value system.
That's why I was asking whether it was the same or a different idea. Yeah. So what did you mean? I wasn't sure what.
I thought it was more of like you as an individual, if you're doing something that's wrong,
Yeah.
the people around you, whether it's one person or two people, they're gonna see that and just take that as, oh, that's okay because someone else is doing it.
Okay. So that might be closer to what the Rambam says. So let's actually like look at the Rambam now. Okay. And again, we're going to spend more than one day on this, I think. So the Rambam, Rambam is on the front. Okay. So he said, and I'm just going to read it in the interest of time here. So he says, "V'hakavana b'davar zeh shepulos hara chosros al osein." Oh, sorry. Did I skip something? Yeah. Rambam says, he says, so the first thing he does, he just extends this from drowning to killing. Okay. So he says, he said, because you drown others, you were drowned, and whoever drowned you will be drowned. In other words, you were killed because you killed another, and he who killed you will ultimately be killed. So it's lav davka drowning. It's not, do you guys learn lav davka in Gemara? Not specifically, yeah, right? So it's not specifically drowning, it's like it's killing. V'hakavana, and we'll see it's not even specifically that. V'hakavana b'davar zeh, the intent in this statement, shepulos hara chosros al osehin, that evil actions come back to their doers. Kamosh Amar, as it says in Mishlei, it is a Mishlei idea. Avonosav yilkuduno es harasha. A wicked person is ensnared by his iniquities. Uvachavle chataso yitamech, and he will be caught in the cords of his sin. Okay. What do you think that means? Just not seeing any other context, just based on the way he's wicked person is ensnared by his iniquities. His own sins harm him in the future. Good. And then same thing in Tehillim, Bor Kara Veyach Perehu Veyupol B'Shachas Yifal. He dug a pit and hollowed it out, and he fell into the ditch he made. It is funny. Va'amru Chachamim b'mida she'adam moded ba modedin lo.
Yeah, this is the one. Remember that time I was trying to think of it?
Yes.
This is it.
Okay. All right. Good. So I wasn't sure how common this phrase was. B'mida she'adam moded ba modedin lo. Yeah. So with the measuring stick by which a man measures, that is how he is measured. I do remember that. Yeah.
Oh, it was similar. This is saying that Hashem will do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this does mean Hashem, but
Okay.
yeah. Sometimes it uses a plural for like because Hashem is doing it through like nature or hashgacha. Okay. Uvadavar zeh hanire umatzui. Sorry. Zeh davar hanire umatzui b'chol zman v'chol makom. This matter is apparent and common in every time and every place. Shekomi she'ose pu'ulas ra umamti mina evil v'hamigras. Anyone who does evil activity and produces types of injustice and imperfection, shehu atmo yevuehu nezek me'osan haros atman shumamti. He will bring about harm from those very same evils that he produced. And he says, Lefi shehu limaid. This is where I think it's in line with what Leah is saying. Who limaid pu'ula? What does limaid mean? That would be lamad. Teach. He taught. Okay, and this is, I could not figure out exactly what this meant, but I think it's like what Leah is saying. He taught an activity, shete'ase nezek lo uzulaso, that caused harm to be done to himself and others. Okay, what are you doing there, Adina? Okay, just wondering. Do you always have a tablet? Okay. V'chein kol hamalamed, and likewise anyone who teaches mida na'aleh, like a good noble character trait. V'hamanhig asiyas tova minados, and guides others to doing good. Hare tavo lo to'elas osabula, then you're going to get a benefit from that action. So he's saying not only does it not apply to drowning, it applies to all killing, but not only all killing, but all bad midos, but not only all bad midos, but all good midos also, right? Shari hu lime davar hanase to lo uzlaso. He's teaching something that's doing good for himself and for others. Okay. V'lashon hakaz, and this is the end now. Lashon hakaz b'zeh mechukam ma'od. The verse that expressed this in a really wise manner, saying, "Kipol adam yishalim lo u'orach ish yamti enu." A man's act will pay him back, and the path of a person will provide for him.
How is this different?
It might not be, but I think that the and that's why I'm asking what the relationship is between what you two are saying, because Leah, you seem to say it's gonna, like, other people will see it and learn from it or be influenced by it. And I thought you were saying, and maybe I misunderstood you, I thought you were saying, like, if you're in a society that has a certain value system, you weren't talking as much about the one-on-one influence.
Well, I was saying the society's value system is like that and confirmed by your actions that you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. So then I think this is like it.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. I still feel like there's some subtle difference, but I'm not sure. So just going back now. Okay. So let's see which questions this answers here. Okay. So it doesn't answer why he's talking to a skull, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did this actually happen? Is it literal? What would you say to that?
No, I'm saying like all.
Yeah,
harm
it turns out it really doesn't matter whether this happened or not, right? Like it's not like it's all about this one incident. It's really, this is a reflective of a principle. Does this imply that anyone who kills someone in a specific way will meet with the same fate?
Well, yeah, just not literally.
Yeah, I would say not the same fate exactly, right? In other words, it doesn't mean that the thing that you do, you're going to get it done to you exactly, right? Like that's just that the specificity is not as strong as the mishnah would lead you to think. Okay, but what it does. So what does it mean? I guess yeah. Question 4: how does this work then? So according to the Rambam, what is this saying, and how is it in line with free will?
It's a natural consequence, so that's why it's not real.
Yeah. So it's not no one's forcing you to do anything. It's a natural consequence.
Because if you're being led to do a certain thing, depending on the sin,
Yeah, so the only thing that makes me think he does not mean that is when he says that this matter is apparent and common in every time and every place. Like if this was hashgacha pratis, I think like it would be for either, you know, when Klal Yisrael is on a high level, or individual tzaddikim or individual rashayim who are like on an especially high or low level, you know. But this makes it sound like this applies across the board to everyone equally. So that makes me think it's hashgacha klalis, not hashgacha pratis.
well, if anything, that should be even more proof that it can be both constructive and natural, because it's every single punishment that someone.
Okay, fine, right. So another, well, okay, it definitely is hashgacha pratis. Like hashgacha pratis definitely does work this way, but the Mishnah seems to be talking about a naturalistic example. You know, it's
I thought our question was whether the punishment was not whether the action.
yeah, whether the punishment is. And I'm saying that like there are certainly cases where a person got a hashgachic punishment for like what's an example in the Chumash, like
You get parties.
That's not hashgacha. That's the big thing. Oh, kari.
yeah, I mean cars is complicated. I'm trying to think of a case in Tanakh. Yeah, well, cars is going to complicate stuff. Let's not talk. But there's got to be a case in, let's say, like in the Chumash where a why can't I not think of a case? Korach. Okay, good, right? So but is that Mida connected? Mida? Is that?
I don't know.
Do some
Wait.
mocos.
Here's one. Here's one. Okay.
I love that.
Here's one. Is Klal Yisrael complained about their food? So then Mida connected Mida, they got the slav and like were forced to eat it until like they got all sick from it. You know. So like it definitely applies to this is definitely a derech of hashgacha pratis, Mida connected Mida. But the chiddush of the Mishnah is that this applies in all times, in all places, and all actions. Meaning it's expanding it into hashgacha klalis. Yeah. So what did Hillel and what did and didn't Hillel know about the skull? Doesn't really matter, right? He sees a guy who got killed, so he's saying that like somehow this is probably connected to your actions. Now, here's the thing: is this true in all cases, though? I don't know, right?
It's
Because
one true.
the fact that if you see someone get killed, it was a result of their own actions. No, it's not true,
I
right?
thought we extended it from like killing. I guess that's true.
In other
I
words,
think
there
there's a
is
difference between my answer or whatever.
yeah.
And Ayala's answer. Because Ayala's answer. No, I don't have any.
In other
I'm
words,
focusing on more like your effect on society, but you're focusing more on the effect, like your effect on society, which comes back to affect you.
yeah. So I think it's true. It's always true on a societal level, but I don't think it's true on a particular level. In other words, like, for example, okay, you could argue this the other way. Anyone know what happened to Batman's parents? Yeah, they died when he was young, right? They got killed, you know. It doesn't mean that their actions caused that to happen, you know. There's such a thing as like getting mugged or getting killed or like wars happen, you know. It doesn't mean that you contributed to it and this is a result of your actions. That's also true, right? In terms of God's reward and punishment, but I'm asking about like the way the Rambam was interpreting it, that like
Well, you yourself.
you yourself caused it, yeah.
That was like the lack of something. And that's not. Well, but Hashem did create something in that order, but.
That's also true, but I'm just questioning: is it true that all deaths come about as a result of your, like, if you die or you suffer something, it came about as a result of your action? I don't think so either. In this way,
It's telling you what to do. I don't think it's telling you how it is.
yeah.
It's telling you
This is a-
Notice that what you do has.
Yes,
no
exactly. And
impact.
yeah, I think that's level also. Like this is a general principle about how reality operates. And it is very Mishlaic in the sense that like really all Mishlaic consequences really like are this idea that the Rambam is saying is like the good that you do will benefit you and the bad that you do will harm you, you know? Yeah, okay.
Can't people argue like an EO situation? And that's
Yeah, yeah. So that's why like the trick with a mishnah like this is to try to figure out what are the parameters, like what is it trying to comment on and explain and what is it not. So if you took this and said, this is trying to answer the question of tzaddik v'ralo and rasha v'tovlo, I think that would be a mistaken move, you know? But so this is in Pirkei Avos, which is talking about ethics and how to behave. And in that sense, like this is a useful idea that like the actions that you do that are bad will come back to harm you in general, and the actions that are good that you do in general will come back to benefit you, you know?
But this is not so clear. I said, yeah, of course you know he's
Yeah,
doing good anyway.
and that
It's
part-
good for a Mishnah,
Yeah, that part I'm still not clear on in terms of what this is doing in Pirkei Avos. You know, it's definitely in ethics, but it doesn't seem to be, you know, beyond the letter of the law or like Hasidus, you know?
Kind of like we're learning about with Noah, like the Rashi that said like he wasn't so good, or maybe it was Rambam. I don't know. One of the sources said like he was good for a generation, but he wasn't so good like compared to Avram.
Yeah,
And then we were saying because he wasn't going out of his way to like really teach and inspire people.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it
that's
reminds me
interesting.
That like if you don't even if you do the right thing personally or the wrong thing,
Yeah.
the way you influence people is like the major.
Okay, that I like because that also answers why the Rambam puts the emphasis on teaching, right? That the limed pu'ula shete'ase nezek lo uzula. So he taught a bad action, or same thing if he taught a good character trait. And this is relevant to people in Pirkei Avos because Pirkei Avos is written for the Dayanim and for the leaders, and like their actions are going to, you know, like promote certain values that are, in other words, the leader's actions are going to have a much greater ripple effect in this way than the average person's actions, you know? Yeah.
They're doing something fine, but since it looked bad, so like according to this,
You mean when you're saying with the teaching thing, like, is it possible that a person could accidentally like teach a bad midah because it, even though his intentions were good, but
just pointing out that like you shouldn't do, like even if something is okay, you shouldn't. Rabbi Friedman, I feel like always says that like if you're like a great rabbi, maybe there's some halacha like this, that you shouldn't do something which is like okay, even though it may be interpreted as not okay. Like
Yeah.
let's say, like at a store, if you just take something and walk out, it's like you have an agreement that you'll pay them back.
Yeah, right.
Not everyone may know.
exactly, yeah. If it raises suspicions that could lead people to infer things that reinforce bad midos or like violating halacha, then you should avoid it. Yeah. That's good. That's a good question. The thing that now is troubling me about this interpretation, though, is like, so we've explained why this is useful in Pirkei Avos for the audience of Pirkei Avos, but the guy who died was definitely doesn't seem like a Pirkei Avos fellow, you know?
Yeah, no.
And so like the way that this is being taught, like in other words,
But Hillel does.
Hillel does, yeah, that's definitely
He's
true.
really the main character.
He is, yeah, in this little story. Yeah, this delightful little story. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess see, okay, I'm just gonna express the thing that's bothering me, but I think I have an answer. Is what's bothering me is when we first read this, it sounds like it's describing like a method of God's justice in the world of Mida Kang Mida, you know, and then with the way that the Rambam talks about it, it sounds like it's more of an ethical like directive, like telling you how to behave. So the message doesn't jive with the vibe of the story. That's what bothered me. But anyone want to answer that? Does that make sense? In other words, like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is bad, not like a bad.
it sounds like saying you get punished, like you know, what goes around comes around in a Mida K'neged Mida type way,
And like a bad.
yeah, specifically in a bad way, in a punishment-y way, you know.
Like, why use this to teach?
Yeah, it's like if I were expressing, let's say if I were Hillel and I wanted to express the idea that the Rambam is describing, this is kind of a weird way to do it. It's about a punishment. It's very bad. It's very extreme, you know, like being drowned and being killed. What was that?
That's why, like, in Mishnah, you make it real to your emotions.
Okay, that's definitely possible. Yeah.
So I think that you need to keep it within God's framework because if you just lose sight of that, it's kind of like oh, like if I do bad, like I don't know, you just don't think about God.
Yeah, so I wanted to say an answer more along those lines. I'm curious to see if we could develop it that way. I was like, it's not just that it happens to work out like this. That's how God designed the world. Like where good actions do lead to benefits, and that's from Hashem. That's the way He designed human beings and behavior. And same thing with bad actions. It's not like for example, in a let's say like you create an artificial environment like a classroom or like a city, and like you make your own laws about how things are punished and how things are rewarded. Like that could be arbitrary, but like this is built into the fabric of reality that good actions lead to good results all around and bad actions lead to bad results all around. And like, I don't know why it emphasizes the negative, but it emphasizes why he had to put it in terms of like a thing that happened, and his certainty in saying it, like, yep, this checks out, this works out with that principle. Yeah.
But it's the fact that it's life or death, like such an extreme thing and such I don't know, something every human being's subject to.
Yeah.
That could be part of it.
That could be part of it also. And maybe the fact also that when someone does commit murder, then there is a feeling of like, and they got away with it, and like he's saying like, no, they're not going to get away with it. It is going to come back and like affect them in some way. They might not get drowned in the exact same way, but like, it'll do that. It's interesting. I do want to continue working on this over the weekend, but just to give you a sneak peek, what we're going to do next time is the Sefer HaChinuch. So he takes it into much more of like talking about how God's punishment works. And this might even be relevant to Eov. Okay. And then there's one other mafarish I'm working on, which I didn't include here, which I think I might want to do also. So we'll have to do that for next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good day.